Whom shall I send? That's the question that God Almighty asked in Isaiah chapter 6. It's recorded. And we see Isaiah responding, here am I, send me. And you might think, well, I'm not worthy. Well, that's what Isaiah said. I'm a man of unclean lips. I dwell amongst an unclean people. And the angel took the coal from the altar and put it on his lips. God said, I know you're a sinner, but you're going to be my spokesman. In the book of Jeremiah, if you read Jeremiah chapter 1, God put his hand on Jeremiah to be a public advocate. We call Jeremiah a prophet, but in addition to being a prophet, he was a public advocate for the laws of God. And one of the key things that the Lord said to him was, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You will go where I tell you to go. You will say what I tell you to say. And you must not fear them. I'll be with you. I'll deliver you. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because you might want to be a public advocate for any number of critical Christian issues that are on the table today in the American body politic, or for that matter, in international relations. Christians literally dying by the hundreds and thousands in certain Middle Eastern Islamic countries. There's a lot of places where there's a dearth of strong, courageous public advocates for Christ and for God's law. Maybe your heart is being stirred and you would like to fill one of those niches. Well, what can you expect? I'm going to pick up right now where I finished yesterday. And if you missed the show, go online and you can see the archive. Okay, go to our website, thevoiceofresistance.com. Here's what Jesus said. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. If you stand for what is right, righteousness' sake, you're going to be persecuted. He said, blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great, for so men persecuted the prophets who were before you. This comes from the Sermon on the Mount as recorded by Matthew. Here is how Luke records it. Blessed are you when men hate you, when they exclude you and revile you and cast your name out as evil on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven, for so their fathers did to the prophets. What can you expect if you're a public advocate? If you do the right thing? If you speak up for Christ? Well, there's a part of us that wants to believe if I do the right thing, if I say the right thing, then things ought to go well for me. People should be saying, good job. That was awesome. Come and tell us more. Oftentimes, the exact opposite is true. If you say the right thing and you do the right thing, you might be persecuted. You might be reviled. You will have all kinds of evil spoken against you falsely. They'll make false accusations. Just make stuff up. They will hate you. They'll exclude you from their company. That means they don't ask you to the party. They don't ask you to go to lunch. When you're on the job and you've been standing strong for the Lord, they all go out to Pizza Hut, but they don't ask you to come. They exclude you. You don't get to go to the cool hangouts. You're hated. They speak about you behind your back. And it hurts. And Jesus said, rejoice, leap for joy, because your reward is great in heaven. And the reason I feel that I have to start with this before we go into some of the details of you becoming a public advocate is your interior has to be strengthened and prepared for what is to come. It's so counterintuitive. You think that if you do the right thing, that things will go well for you. Not usually. Look at the history of the martyrs. Look at what happened to the prophets in the Bible. Rough stuff. All of Jesus' apostles, his first 12 apostles, save John the beloved, were martyred. They were witnesses of the resurrection. They told people the truth. They offered the love of God and eternal redemption. And their reward is that they were killed. So we're desperate in America today and desperate around the world for people to be public advocates for Christ, for the truth, for righteousness, for innocent lives, for the babies, for marriage, discussing the threat of historic Orthodox Islam. We're desperate for public advocates who will speak the truth. But if you want to sign up for the job, if you say, you know what, Lord, here am I, send me, you've got to be prepared for the difficulty that will come. But if you'll play toward the day of judgment, Jesus said, rejoice because great is your reward in heaven. If you keep that in your mind, that they might hate you here and now for doing the right thing, but God is up there saying, well done, good and faithful servant. And there'll be a reward waiting for you. So keep your eye on God's eternal prize. I'll be back with more on how you can be a public advocate.